It's also 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's the last day of July. We're on verse 62. I got to remember to speak up. I had some reminders on yesterday's morning live stream. Not any technical issues. It's just that in the morning, everything is so quiet, hushed. There's a holiness, there's a sacredness going on, and I'm always hesitant to speak up too much and intrude my own voice into the holiness of the morning. Really, the last thing the morning needs is me and my loudness. By loudness, I really mean the ego. That'll come soon enough. The ego always enters somewhere in the fray, somewhere in the day, somewhere to make itself known. It doesn't have to be at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is why these hours, an hour or so, 90 minutes or so before the sun comes up, and about an hour after the sun is already up, it's considered sacred time, holy time in every tradition. In the yogic tradition, it's called Brahma Muhurtai, the hour of God, the hours of God. It's not a set time, it's fluid, and it relates to light itself. It relates to the sunrise. Sorry, gotta say good morning to my cat. So our friend Omega Gaming is here, formerly known as the Godzilla, and our friend Lee. Lee, how are you? He says, good morning, Eric. How are you? I'm doing good, Lee. It's nice seeing you over at Jace's. Omega says, sorry I didn't come yesterday. It was 2 a.m. for me, and I was with my friends. That's okay. We're on verse 62, the Tao Te Ching. And what we're reading from is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which is an interpretation of the Tao Te Ching offered by Wayne Dyer. He pulled several different sources that were meaningful to him. And more than a translation, he's offering his interpretation on how to best live, best express, or allow the Tao to be expressed through you. So it's more of a personal. You're not just reading the Tao, you're getting hints on how the Tao is best expressed through our lives. So we're going to dive right in. Verse 62, 81 verses in the Tao. So we're getting near the end. The Tao is the treasure house, the true nature, the secret source of everything. It is the treasure of the good man and the refuge of the bad. If a person seems wicked, do not cast him away. Awaken him with your words. Elevate him with your deeds. Repay his injury with your kindness. Do not cast him away. Cast away his wickedness. Thus, when a new leader is chosen, do not offer to help him with your wealth or your expertise. Help him to meditate on the principle. Offer instead to teach him about the Tao. Why did the ancients make so much of the principle? Is it not because it is the source of all good and the remedy for all evil? It is the most noble thing in the world. The Tao is the most noble thing in the world. The reason why it's the most noble thing in the world is because it's the only thing in the world. We can, if we wanted to, translate the Tao into, just give me a second, guys. I'm going to bring up the desktop. We could translate it into absolute love. We could translate it into God. We could translate it into
American Express presents FX is the Bear Inside Access.
Sorry, guys. Apologize for that. We could translate it into whatever is a meaningful expression for us. Doesn't have to be the Tao. Let's see. Lee says, good. Thank you, Eric. So, Eric, I know nothing about yoga, and I'm right in thinking it's a discipline that relaxes the mind and body and allows you to channel your thoughts. You are on the right path with that. Yoga, the word itself means union, and it is the realization that we are not a mind, we are not a body, we are not spirit. We are mind, body, spirit. We are one thing expressed as a finite. We are an infinite thing expressed as a finite thing right now. The Yoga Sutras from Patanjali, which is basically a guidebook of yoga, begins with this is the practice of yoga, and then it tells you yoga is the um, cessation of cessation, so stopping of the fluctuation of the thoughts that keep us from realizing our true identity. We learn to not identify with our thoughts. Thoughts are just things, energetic patterns passing in the mind. It's not who we are. We are the awareness to the thoughts. So yoga begins with ethical principles. They call them ethical restraints, the yamas. And they help us sort of retrain our mind away from an outer focus to an inner focus. And then we have the niyamas, which are the personal observances, cleanliness, spiritual discipline, um, things along those lines, worship, self-study. And then we have breath work, pranayama, which is increasing our vital energy, prana, the life essence itself. And then we have the asanas, which are the poses, which is what people think yoga actually is. And then we have the path of meditation. All of it comes to realizing samadhi, which is bliss consciousness. And bliss consciousness is self-realization of realizing that we are pure awareness itself. I'm always happy to talk about yoga. So for me, everything becomes a path of yoga. Traditionally, there's 4 paths of yoga. There is karma yoga, which is the practice of selfless service. Karma simply means action, motion. So everything is action, everything is motion. But you're taking the busyness of the world, the things that we always do, our jobs, our relationships, our what we could call our purpose or dharma, and we're surrendering it to God. We don't change it. Don't need to change our jobs. We don't need to change our relationships, but we are surrendering the actions of the relationship to God, whatever your version of God is. And then we have Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion, meaning that we take that surrendering to a whole new level, that everything we do is simply an expression of the divine, an expression of holiness. And we live our lives in holy worship of existence, of life, of God, of love. And then we have Jnana Yoga. Jnana means wisdom, insight. And that is the practice of self-inquiry, where we're asking ourselves, who am I? Without ever settling on an answer. Any answer that you come to, who am I, is just a description and not the actuality of who you are. So we just keep asking, who am I? What am I? Where am I? Seems like an easy answer. Well, I'm here. But who is it that is here? Is it a thought? Because your thoughts are always changing. So how can your thoughts be here? Because they're only here for a moment and then another thought comes in. So these are questions without a true answer, but it leads us to the mystery itself. And now we're getting somewhere. And then the last is the traditional yoga, is Raja Yoga, the royal path of yoga. And that is what I laid out with the ethical principles all the way through meditation. And you don't have to pick one. All of them are expressed, all of these paths are expressed in different ways at different times in our life. And there's other like subcategories. But for me, everything becomes a path of yoga, everything that we do, because we can realize our essence as spiritual beings, or as Pierre Chardin de Talahard, who was a French Jesuit priest, anthropologist, strange mixture, said, we are not human beings that have an occasional spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. That sums up yoga perfectly for me. Just the realization that you are a spiritual being having and enjoying or you are a spiritual being having a human experience right now in everything that you do. So that's it. That's yoga. That was a long winded answer to your question. Let's see. Just looking to see what else is coming up. I'm getting ready to take my morning walk in about, I guess, in about 15 minutes or so. I do this every morning. Um, I'm up at 2:30. Immediately immediately do my breath work for the morning. Um, the breath work is designed for the morning breath work, designed to give me energy, to wake me up, to open up the energetic centers of the body, the chakras. Um, it also helps digestion. There's practical purposes for everything. Yoga is sometimes seen as this metaphysical thing, but it also has the practicality of, when you do your breath work, it's improving your digestion, it is giving you energy, it's increasing your natural production of adrenaline and all the hormones that we need to get through the day in just the right amount. Then I sit and I meditate. Then I do my practice. It's in the Course in Miracles to do the lessons of the day, where I read through the text. Um, I do about a 20 to 30-minute yoga practice. I have my 1 cup of coffee for the day as I sit and I write. And then I come here and I try to um, hang out with our friend Jace. It's let's see. Um, we got another suggestion to just smoke meth. We can call that option B. We'll take my option is option A, and then we'll take gangster. We'll take that as option B. So yeah, Lee, always happy to help answer any questions, or hey, if you want to start a really nice, easy yoga practice, a meditation practice, um, some breath work, any of that stuff. Particularly meditation. So I mentioned before that I'm a certified meditation teacher, instructor, as well as a breathwork coach. I am certified 200-hour certification in asana yoga practice, but honestly, I consider myself more of a meditation teacher. I consider myself more of the traditional type of yoga, offering the yogic psychology more so than just teaching the asanas. I can teach the asanas or the postures, but I'm not an expert on them by far. Not an expert on anything, which is why I have just a yogi, not a special yogi, not an advanced yogi, not a yogi that knows the truth and meaning of the universe. Just a yogi, loving my practice, what it offers me, the peace that it's given me, um, and hoping to be able to talk about it so that others want to explore it a bit or explore their own path, whatever that might be. I wrote about that this morning, posted on my community page, how for me, all my paths have blended together. Um, Working with the Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles is a path of forgiveness. And what we're forgiving isn't other people. That's a big task, forgiving other people. It's not even about forgiving ourselves. That's an even bigger task, because as many resentments and grievances and grudges that we hold towards other people, we hold even more about ourselves. We always have this fear. If people knew the thoughts that I had, if people knew what a bad person I was, if people knew how petty and jealous and whatever, that's a big thing to forgive. However, what A Course in Miracles says, none of that is true. You're not who you think you are, and others aren't who you think they are. So we're forgiving the illusion of the story, and everything's a story. We have a story about politics. We have a story about jobs. We have a story about everyone we meet. We have a story about ourselves. Course in Miracles says that's just a projection. So we forgive the projections, which causes our perception of the world. And anytime we do that, we return to our original state, our original source of innocence itself. Peacefulness brings us right back to peace. And trust me, life will always give you a way of practicing. Someone will always show up and say something that will act as a trigger. And we get that opportunity to practice forgiveness. We're not forgiving that other person for doing that. We're forgiving the situation itself. We're forgiving the trigger. This is why A Course in Miracles says, do not seek to change the world. It's a big thing for any one person to do, and it's never worked. No one has been able to protest their way into a better work, into a better world. No one has been able to complain their way to a better world. No one has been able to do anything. We have a more technically advanced mess, but it's the same mess we had 2,000 years ago. So this is why A Course says, do not seek to change the world. Seek to change your perception of the world. Go within, forgive those thoughts that keep us trapped into a meaningless world. Forgive, and we return to our original state of peacefulness and innocence. This is why they also say, and this is a deep psychology, don't try to change your behaviors. It'll never work. A behavior is an effect. Seek to change the cause that is manifesting that behavior. And you do that through forgiveness, which is at once the easiest thing and the hardest thing to do. It's easy because now you know you don't have to take a ton of time. You can do it right now. It's hard because true forgiveness is the last thing the ego ever wants to do. Because the ego thrives, its very existence depends on grievance, resentment, making others different and separate from ourselves. Let's see, Lee says, Eric, very true. And I need to change my perception on others. I really dislike ignorance. I feel it breeds imitation. I agree. Here's the secret. As soon as you say, I need to change my perception, it's always the ego that says, I need to do this or I need to do that. If you realize that your perception isn't true, it doesn't really exist. You're just lending it a momentary belief that keeps it in existence. So you realize the illusion of your perception, and everything changes on its own. Of course, when Albert Einstein was asked about time, the existence of time, he said time is an illusion, albeit, although a very persistent illusion, keeps coming back. Doesn't make it real, it just keeps coming back. It's the same with our perceptions. They're an illusion, but they're a very, very, very persistent illusion. And they keep coming back, which is okay, because we just keep forgiving them. An example of an illusion is my desk, right here. You can hear me bang on it. It's a desk. It's solid. I got my phone stand on it. I had a cup of coffee on it earlier today. My desktop is sitting on it. If I were to take it apart, it wouldn't be a desk. It would be the potentiality of a desk. If I were to examine each part under a very, very powerful nuclear microscope, I would see that the desk is a collection of molecules, which are a collection of atoms, which are a collection of particles, which dance around in an energetic pattern within a infinite field of pure nothingness, of pure energy. So the desk isn't even really a thing. It's not even a collection of parts. It's nothingness itself, being lent an appearance of a desk. However, I can still bang on it. I can still put my coffee on it. I can still stub my toe on it at least a couple times a week. So it's an illusion, but it has the appearance of reality. Doesn't make one any less. It doesn't make its energetic pattern any less, and it doesn't make its ability to hold a cup of coffee any less. So when we realize the perceptions that make the world are simply an illusion, we can use those perceptions, but we don't have to believe those perceptions. So now we can look and see other people in their original innocence. Our friend Jace is here. Jace says, Eric Lee, greetings, brothers. Greetings, my friend. Good morning. This is why when Jesus was on the cross and he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," he wasn't stating it for the benefit of God, who had no need to know that. God being all-knowing, all-loving, all-purposeful. He was stating it for our benefit, that these people, even though they put him on the cross, they tortured him, they crucified him, were already forgiven because he saw their innocence, not their actions, not the effects. He looked past all that and saw that they were deluded. They were believing the illusion that Jesus could be crucified, that Jesus could suffer. Because how could the Son of God ever truly suffer? But he was showing us that we can all forgive our own moment on the cross. And trust me, there is always someone in the world that is willing to crucify us or make it seem that way. And yet, through the practice of forgiveness, we can be beyond crucifixion itself. We can move ourselves beyond the need of ever having a cross. We're getting in deep. We're getting in deep with this stuff, guys. But I absolutely love these discussions, especially this early in the day, because it gives us the entirety of the day to practice. Trust me, there'll be someone coming on my live stream later today, either one, who's going to give me an opportunity to look past what they're saying and see their original innocence. In yoga, this is called the 5 kleshas, or the 5 afflictions of the mind, that our true original mind is just pure energy, pure lovingness, pure unconditional awareness. However, the energetic pattern of thoughts of the ego have us believing that we are small and a separate self, the egoic self, and that other people are separate from us. That's one of the afflictions. The other is our aversions, the things that we don't like, that we're always going through life pushing away the things that we don't like, hating the things that we don't like, making others wrong for believing the things that we don't like. That's affliction number 2. Affliction number 3 is our attachments to the things that we do like. So we're going through life attached to the things that we believe, attached to the things that we think we need to make us happy, attached to the people that we think we need within our lives at all time. Attached and attached and attached, which leads to suffering because other people don't have those same attachments. And that causes an aversion. So it's a loop, one feeding into the other. The fourth is the thought that we are, well, the third, I'm sorry, we have our attachments, our aversions, and then our belief that we are a separate self, belief that we are an ego. The fourth is fear of death, because if we are an ego, that means that eventually we are going to die, that the ego is going to die. And the last thing the ego ever wants is to die. Those are four. And we project that fear out into the world, which causes our perception. And number five is ignorance. In Sanskrit, it's called vidya. Um, and it is the ignorance, not stupidity, but ignorance of all those four previous things. And that we are living our lives in fear, in attachment, in aversion, and in ignorance. And we're going through life projecting all of that outwards. We wonder why people don't feel the same way that we do, or we cherish the people who do feel the same and we punish those who don't. Yoga is the way of seeing all of those five afflictions. Just seeing them, just being aware. Everything starts to change through awareness. And we do that through breath work, we do that through the yoga postures, and we do that through meditation, as well as withdrawing the senses, turning inwards. Now, A Course in Miracles simplifies it. All those things are true. All those five afflictions are true, and that we are projecting them, which causes our perception of the world. And A Course in Miracles says, simply forgive the projections. Just forgive them. Recognize them, be aware, and then forgive them. It's the entirety of yoga summarized in one word, and that's forgiveness. If we practice forgiveness, we're practicing peace. If we're practicing peace, we're practicing absolute love, unconditional love. If we are practicing unconditional love, I don't even know if I need to finish that. Imagine unconditional love. We don't have to imagine. It's who we are. We've just forgotten. Forgiveness is how we remember. Person by person, event by event, perception by perception. So, guys, it's almost 5:30. I'm going to head outside. I'm going to take my walk. Hope to see you guys later. Hope I wasn't too long-winded, and that maybe something I said made a little bit of sense. If not, come on back this afternoon and let me know. We can talk more about it. Jace, excellent workout this morning, as always. I'm hearing so many people talking about, Sabine was talking about following your workout, and our friend William is using your workout. You are putting good stuff out into the world, my friend. Lee says, what time for you later? I'll be live at 1 o'clock Eastern time, United States. I think you guys are, 4 hours ahead? So it would be, 5 o'clock for you guys? Jay says, have a great morning with a beautiful sunrise coming up. Thank you. And hey, my email is on my community page. Anyone ever has a question, feel free to send me an email, or Jason and I are connected on Facebook. Guys, if you're on Facebook, look me up, Eric McCarty. You can send me a question there on, and I love working on Facebook because I can FaceTime people so we can have a conversation. I teach meditation through FaceTime. Don't have Zoom any longer because it was taking too much space on my phone. And I'm always happy to work with anyone. Here's the thing. I teach meditation for a living as well as breath work. But if you are a friend and if you're here having a conversation with me, I teach my friends and my family absolutely for free. So, hey, reach out. Jay says, 5 hours. It's 10:30. So yeah, I guess 6:30 your time, guys. Thanks for that, Jace. Appreciate that. Lee says, super. I like listening to you. You make a lot of sense. Thank you. And I hope that I make sense because, man, I've had a messy life. I spent a decade, the entirety of the 90s, attempting to drink myself to death. I've messed up tons of relationships. I've caused people that I care about a lot of pain. I have my fair share of suffering. And through absolute grace, I was given a better way. Practicing meditation I started meditating in the late 80s. So even though my life was a mess, it already started changing even through the mess. I had this sudden realization, 1999, that if I wanted to, my entire life could be different than it is right now. And I didn't even have to do anything. I just had to say yes. I just had to say yes. I want something different. Never had a drink again like that. Everything changed in my life. Even my relationships, the essence of my relationship. You know, when I quit drinking, I didn't think I was going to be in another relationship because I had made so many messes. 3 years after I met Milka, we got married. 2 years after that, we got divorced. 4 years after that. And yet Milka is still the most meaningful person in my life. We were able to allow our relationship to change in every possible way that a relationship could change, and yet stay together, again, in the most meaningful way. That's how my life began to change. I no longer had to cling to how things were, and I was able to allow things to be however they were going to be. So, again, that's the path of yoga, that's the path of love, that's the path of forgiveness. It's the path of the Tao Te Ching. It's the true practice of Christianity. Jesus lays it out for us. The kingdom of heaven is within. Heaven is perfect love. Heaven is absolute oneness. Heaven is undivided. So why do we look out up in the sky for a heaven that exists after we die when Jesus said heaven is already within? The kingdom of heaven is within. Last thing I'll say, St. Catherine of Siena said, all the way to heaven is heaven, meaning heaven is already here. Let's see, Lee said, Eric, I think that that's lovely how your relationship is still holding solid. Many people can be bitter or just cut each other out after a split. That's true, and we came close several times. But I think we both realized if we ended that, we would lose the most important lesson that there is, that the appearance of love can change, but love itself never does. My attachment to someone can change. My affection for someone can change, but love itself is absolute and never changes. Let's see. The No Gold says, you still a virgin? Depends on how you think virginity is. Is virginity innocence, or is it having sex? My ex-wife would be very surprised if I said yes. So the answer is no. Let's see. I think that's it, guys. 5:33 for me. Happy to answer any questions, even on the No Gold. And I'm going to see everyone later. I'll be back. Come on by. No, come on by. Ask me another question. I'll see y'all later. Take care, guys.